And I really want to give you, my most sincere condolences for the passing of your father.
A lot of the reason why I do what I do today is because of him. Come that we don't need to live in a world that has such sickness and disease all over the place.
The architecture of the Great Pyramid embeds within it the knowledge of how to square the circle, how to balance masculine and feminine energy.
Got it.
Okay. And that is the answer to everything. Because if you had a perfect balance of energy between masculine and feminine, there would be no sickness.
The optimal frequency of the heart in terms of color, a frequency that we can see, is the color that we call green. Yellow would be your digestive system. Green foods, green juices, will actually help rebalance the heart. So color is actually a form of medicine. In this case, I'm talking about food being your medicine and color being your God. So it's taking those principles, it's applying it into a technology that we can use around us 24/7, ultimately to get us to the point where you never need something like this ever again.
But I find it very fascinating 1 year ago that I found an encryption of Caffre Pyramid by Leonardo da Vinci, and right now it's 1107. 1107 is the exact proportion of the Great Pyramid. 11 is the base and the height is 7. So it's 11
amazing.
to 7. See, there's no such thing as coincidence, my friend. Jason Shurka, what a pleasure to have you here again on Think Tank. Always great to see your smiling face.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Robert.
I know you've had a challenging year personally, and I really want to give you, my most sincere condolences for the passing of your father. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time, if you're okay, talking just a little bit about, your experience with that. It's never easy when you lose a loved one so close to you. And I know you were particularly close to your father. And I'm very sad that I was never able to meet him because I know you were trying to arrange that. And now that opportunity is lost. But maybe you could talk a little bit about him and about his legacy.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for bringing that up. And it happened just about a month and a half ago. I did not expect to go through something like that so early on in life. I'm still 27 years old, so I'm young to experience something like that. And the part that made it harder was that it was unexpected. It wasn't like he was sick for a long period of time and so on and so forth. But what I will say is a lot of the reason why I do what I do today is because of him. Although he's in the real estate field, his passion was alternative health, alternative wellness. He's not a doctor or anything, but he was very passionate about this. So growing up, I saw the guy help so many people every single day, every other day. I saw some, it could be a kid that's 4 years old with his parents, all the way to an 80-year-old dealing with some sort of ailment or disease. And because my father had the knowledge that he had because of his own journey that he went through, kind of his receipts spoke for themselves. A lot of people started talking, word spread, and people wanted to speak to Manny Shurka because he was really good at reading blood tests. He was really good at showing you what to get on your script to be able to get the proper script to check for the proper things. And I saw on a firsthand level that a lot of the things that people just felt helpless and hopeless towards in terms of not being able to overcome, there's no cure for this, this, and that. He was able to help people overcome that, whether it be through his knowledge or putting them in touch with the proper doctors. So I saw on an individual level that a lot of these things were possible to overcome, that we don't need to live in a world that has such sickness and disease all over the place. And I really just wanted to bring that to the next level. Now, I started in real estate. It wasn't very fulfilling to me. Great business, good money, but I needed something more so for my soul. So I decided to move away from that to do what I'm doing today, which is that and a whole lot more. And for me, and even more so now because he's not here, it's a way for me to continue his memory because he did that for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, and I get to do it for millions and hopefully one day billions around the world. So it's kind of how I keep him alive in my own way.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Well, I've seen you, I guess, over the last almost 5 years now. I guess it's been around 5 years that I first followed what you were doing and your work, and we've been on several podcasts together and everything. And I was kind of like, I'm not proud to admit, doom scrolling a little bit through Instagram. And as I was sort of scrolling through Instagram, I see this pyramid thing in the background. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's cool. And of course, I knew that this was kind of related to your business, but I immediately sent you a text. I'm like, what is that? And, how can we talk about it? Because that particular pyramid is something that was definitely top of mind for me for the last few years. And I can tell you more about why in a moment, but tell us about that light system behind you.
Yeah, so this is the light system pyramid. It's funny because the proportions, when I first made them, came this way as what I would call a mistake. And we are actually creating it in alignment with the exact proportion, just on a smaller scale, of the Great Pyramid, which would be fatter and wider and so on and so forth. But it was funny because you're like, no, that wasn't a mistake. There's something a whole lot deeper that you're not understanding here. So we'll get into that. But in short, this is called the light system. What you're looking at is basically polychromatic light therapy using different wavelengths of color, in this case, to help the body heal itself, coupled with the movement of light. And what I love the most is certain words and affirmations. So what you're looking at looks like a code, and I don't think you'll be able to see it so well on this camera, but I just converted that code into English. Now it's moving pretty fast, so you can't see what it's saying. But based on the intentionality that you program this pyramid or any bigger systems with, you'll actually be able to create the intentionality of the code that you're always in proximity with. So that's based on Dr. Masaru Emoto's work, the water experiment, understanding how intentionality and affirmations actually impact the molecular structure of water in your body, creating more coherent structures. And that's exactly what this thing is doing without effort on your side. So you program it once, you're around it 24/7 ideally, if it's in your bedroom or your office, and it's literally restructuring the water in your body on a constant basis based on the intentionality that you input into the system.
Oh, it's super epic. So I'm thinking, already I could see that in Hebrew going up and down on it too. That would be really cool. And probably have it in, adjustable into any language and
Yeah.
or numerical. I mean, there's so many cool things you can do with it. So what exactly is it doing? I know I talked to you about this before to a certain extent, but this is based on scalar energy technology and also light. So it's basically both ends of what I would call the electromagneto-gravito-radiation spectrum. And
Yes.
so what exactly is it doing? Hi, I'm Robert Edward Grant. I invite you to explore my transformative books, Philomath and Polymath, each designed to expand your understanding of the world and ourselves. In Philomath, which means lover of learning, discover how mathematics weaves together physics, music, and prime number theory, revealing the universe's interconnected nature. It's more than a book, it's an enlightening voyage. Polymath builds on Philomath's insights, exploring the genius of thinkers like Pythagoras and Da Vinci, who used geometry to revolutionize science, art, and governance. Rediscover the polymathic roots that spark past ages of enlightenment. Join me on this journey as well. Visit robertedwardgrant.com to get your copies today. Let's foster a new era of enlightenment and collaboration for a brighter future.
So basically, we operate from the basis which you understand better than anybody else: energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla told us, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and you will understand the secrets to the universe. What this is doing in simple terms, and we can go into the science behind it if you'd like as well, but what it's doing in simple terms is it's creating a coherent field of energy for your body to synchronize with. And the way that we can explain that further beyond just the philosophy of that is, let's take cell phone towers. Statistically speaking, people that live closer to cell phone towers do have higher rates of cancer. Now, it's not because the cell phone tower is evil. It's because the frequency that's being emanated and radiating off of that tower is not compatible with the body. This is using the technology that we understand, computers, in a more conscious way to create coherent fields of energy that your body is actually synchronizing with. Now, if I put you in a really bad environment, you're going to synchronize with that. And if I put you in a really positive environment, you're going to synchronize with that. The problem in the world today is we are covered, as you know best, in pollutants on all fronts: water, food, dirty electricity, EMFs all over the place. And this is basically transmuting that. So it's bringing the body back into coherency by basically emitting coherent frequencies and compatible frequencies that the body loves and goes into health when it comes into contact with it, as opposed to the opposite. Now, to do that, it's using what we call identical electromagnetic fields. When you align those, you create that coherent toroidal field for your body to synchronize with, coupled with the words and affirmations that we spoke about, that on this model, you actually have the ability to change, which was never something that was available in the past. And the colors are a very big piece of it. So again, think red light therapy, blue light therapy. Now we're using different aspects, different parts of that array of visible light that we call wavelength or color to be able to interact with the body. So take the heart. The optimal frequency of the heart in terms of color, a frequency that we can see, is the color that we call green. Yellow would be your digestive system. So it's no wonder why foods like bananas, lemon in your water, pineapple, mango, it's really good for your digestive system. Those are yellow foods. Green foods, green juices, will actually help rebalance the heart, like artichoke hearts. It will also help cleanse the lungs. That's why when you drink green juices, you start cleansing all this phlegm out of your lungs. So color is actually a form of medicine. In this case, I'm talking about food being your medicine and color being your guide. So it's taking those principles, it's applying it into a technology that we can use around us 24/7, ultimately to get us to the point where you never need something like this ever again. Because the truth is, you are the greatest healer there is. We all are. Our bodies are the greatest technologies in the world. My goal with this technology is to use it with the understanding that it's a stepping stone to get us to the point where we don't need to use these things anymore because our bodies are coherent enough to heal itself.
It's kind of like, cell phones are training wheels for telepathy.
In a way, yeah, because I can talk to you and text you, but that's step one, getting to the point of being able to do it without that medium.
Interesting. So are you interested to know why that particular shape was so interesting to me?
All I know is that it has something to do with the Philosopher's Stone, but please enlighten me.
Well, let me see if I have a dollar bill. You have a dollar bill on you?
I don't even have my wallet on me.
Well, that figures. I have a dollar bill. So I'm going to show you this. Okay. So on the back side of the dollar bill. Look familiar?
Yep. That's literally what this thing is right here.
Exactly. So this particular pyramid shape is unique. What makes it unique, it has a 67.38 degree angle. And I've seen it enough that I just recognize it when I see it. It is the only, so you've heard of squaring the circle, right?
Yes.
You know the Great Pyramid is related to squaring the circle?
Yes.
Because if you take one half of the base of the Great Pyramid and you turn that into a square, so that's the side of a square, right? And then you take a circle from the center point of the Great Pyramid, and that circle would have a circumference that hits the base of the Great Pyramid and goes all the way to the apex of the Great Pyramid. Then that circle for only the Great Pyramid and that square will have equal perimeter and circumference values. That's why the Great Pyramid is what it is.
So when it comes to the Great Pyramid, before going to the other one in terms of the other proportions, I just want to share that the reason why I created this in this shape, in the pyramid shape in general, is because I have, not to the depth that you have in terms of your knowledge, but I have an understanding of the importance of that shape and how energy moves through it. So being that this is essentially a healing modality, helping the body heal itself, I said, what better way to do that than incorporating it into the shape itself that will transmute and transmit energy in the best possible way, like they did 4,000 years ago.
Right. And so the Great Pyramid's proportions, I think it's a great thing for you to, design that for how you're going to use this product, because obviously the benefit is that masculine and feminine energies are equal. Right? That's what squaring the circle means. The square represents the masculine, the circle represents the feminine. The architecture of the Great Pyramid embeds within it the knowledge of how to square the circle, how to balance masculine and feminine energy.
Got it.
Okay. And that is the answer to everything. Because if you had a perfect balance of energy between masculine and feminine, there would be no sickness. It's the imbalances. And right now, it's 11:07. 1107 is the exact proportion of the Great Pyramid. 11 is the base, and the height is 7. So it's 11 to
amazing.
7. See, there's no such thing as coincidence, my friend. I didn't plan that. So the point being that the Great Pyramid has that proportion, and an 11 over 7 is that proportion that allows for the squaring of the circle.
Interesting. So
Right.
how does it connect to the one on the dollar bill?
So the one on the dollar bill is unique. It's different. So instead of having a squaring of the circle where the square's perimeter is equal to the circle's circumference, there's one triangle whose area is equal to its perimeter. And that one triangle is a 5, 12, 13 right triangle.
Okay.
So 5 plus 12 plus 13 equals 30, right? Now let's find the area. So the area of that same triangle, you take 1/2 times base times height, right? So 1/2 the base times the height. So the base times the height is 5 times 12 equals 60. 1/2 of that is 30. So the
Correct.
area is 30, and the perimeter is also 30.
Oh, wow.
It's the only triangle that does this. So you inadvertently made a pyramid that is based on a portal technology for triangles.
What do you think that means with your knowledge, experience, and understanding on now the further efficacy? And we could talk about what we've seen with these technologies, but what do you feel that that means for the efficacy of something like this by the shape being that itself beyond what the code is doing on the screen?
I think that what you guys built with that, and I sent it to Matthias right away because that's how we connected, because he had been seeing, the first time we spent really a lot of time together, we were in Miami, and he said, "Are you seeing this triangle? What does this particular triangle mean?" And it was the isosceles version of what I just said, the 5, 12, 13. So you double that, you have a height of 12, a base of 10, right? Of the entire pyramid structure, right? A base of 10, a height of 12. That's the proportion. Okay, so it's like base 12 and base 10 embedded into one.
Okay.
And what that means is that on one side you have 30 seconds, right? Because it was 30 is the area and 30 is the perimeter. 30 seconds of the masculine aspect of 1 minute and 30 seconds of the feminine aspect of 1 minute. And together they both equal, right, this 60. So it's like a base 60 system. This is time.
Did you know? So what you're looking at right now, there are 16 different programs that you can actually run here. So like that's one, I'm going to make it faster. You could see them. That's one, that's two. You'll see the color changes.
Uh-huh.
That's 3, 4, 5. It goes all the way to 16 different types of programs. And what's interesting is there's also a part of the program that allows you to set the cycle time, to exactly what you just said. And you can balance between masculine programs and feminine programs based on what the intentionality is on each and the colors of each, and put them into the proportions that you just said to further enhance what you just said about the size of the pyramid itself, the proportions.
So remember when I invited you to come to Egypt with me back in 2023, end of
Yes,
23?
and I wish I could have been there.
Yeah. So we went to this place called Abu Rawash, which was two pyramids that were destroyed. No one knows how they were destroyed. I believe they were actually the Tower of Babel. And one of them was the Tower of Babel. The other one was the satellite pyramid. So the satellite pyramid at Abu Rawash is exactly that proportion of the one behind you. Okay.
Can you say the beginning of what you said? Because you kicked out. I couldn't hear you well.
So Abu Rawash is 8 kilometers from the Great Pyramid, northwest. Okay. It's the most northern pyramids in Egypt, right? Okay. Most northern pyramids in Egypt. It represents the crown chakra. The throat chakra is the Giza Plateau. Okay. So the 3 pyramids on the Giza Plateau are like the vocal cords of the planet, right? And it's also known as the throat chakra for the world, right? And if you go down the Nile, all of the different temples along the Nile are the different chakras, right? So they all have different chakras. So Kamumbo Temple is the sacral, for example. Okay. Right, and that's Sobek is the like the dragon or the alligator, right? Crocodile god. So basically, as you go up, you go to Dendera. Dendera is the heart, right? And Dendera is the heart for the feminine, but there's the heart for the masculine, which is the Osirian temple, which is where they found the flower of life. all over it.
Interesting.
Right? So you're going up, and there's 24 chakras total, right? We get up to the Giza Plateau, and it's the throat. You go another 8 kilometers northwest, very slightly, and it's still on the Nile, and it is it's the crown. So it's the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. That device behind you represents the pineal gland. It represents the shape of the pine cone, right? That's why it has a steep angle. The other pyramid behind it, which is an equilateral triangle, right? The equilateral triangle that is, it's called the Djed Efre pyramid, named after the Djed, right? They thought it must be a guy named Djed because he had the name Djed Efre, but it was actually a reference to the Djed pillar, which is about the crown chakra activation, right? So that pyramid is the shape of the pituitary gland. When the pituitary gland and the pineal gland touch inside the hall of Brahma, inside the brain, then you have enlightenment.
Interesting.
And so what that is channeling for you right there is it's the pineal gland or the sixth chakra being lit up, right? And it ends up giving you a rainbow body, which is interesting because now you're looking at all the rainbow colors. You didn't know any of this stuff.
No.
And you guys just built a device that is sort of matching where consciousness is going because you were entrained with consciousness.
It's incredible.
Now, it's related to time.
This is why I love speaking to you, by the way, because you get to show me different perspectives of whatever their original intentions were. There's like 10 other things going on right now.
That's right. That's exactly right. So we have no idea, like, the multidimensional aspect of all the things we're doing. We have no clue.
How does this connect to time? You were talking about time.
So it literally is the base of the pyramid that is in Abu Rawash, which is the satellite pyramid like this. The base is 43.2 feet.
Okay.
Right? And 432 is related also to time, right? I mean, we know that the number of seconds in one day is 86,400. Half of that is 43,200, 432. That relates to the radius of the sun. The radius of the sun is 432,000 miles. So it's all scaling. So if you could make a perfect time system, would you not have it somehow tie back to the diameter of the sun, or maybe the circumference of the sun, or something along those lines, right? Well, that's exactly what the ancients did, because we have 86,400 seconds in a day, and the sun's diameter is 864,000 miles.
It's amazing.
And the mile is ancient. It's not a new construction. It's way more ancient than any of us know. It's been around forever.
You know, a lot of people bring that up because when it comes to, I believe, the Great Pyramid and its relation to the speed of light with whatever the number is in meters per second, it's like in the hundreds of millions.
299,792,458 meters per second.
Exactly. And that's the exact,
I believe, latitude of the Great Pyramid.
Exactly. So there are a lot of people that say, no, that metric didn't exist back then, so it's a coincidence. I'm like, there's no way that it's a coincidence.
No. Look, of course it existed. The perimeter of the King's Chamber inside the Great Pyramid is exactly 31.4159 meters, which is pi times 10.
Wow.
And that's in meter measurement. Okay. The sarcophagus fits in the room of the King's Chamber 137 times. Right, which is the alpha fine structure constant. And the square root of 137 is 11.7. There's that same 11-7 ratio, right? Guess what the diameter, or rather the diagonal of the King's Chamber is? It's 11.7 meters exactly. The resonance frequency of the sarcophagus is 117 hertz. That's where it resonates at, which is exactly the square root of 137. Sarcophagus
so not to get off topic, but with everything that's going on in Egypt now and what they're so-called finding underground, again, it's not surprising to me. I'm sure it's not surprising to you either. But what do you make of all of that? Do you believe that there are staircases? Do you believe that it's coils? Do you believe that those basements underneath that are 80 meters by 80 meters are energy storage containers?
We don't know what's there exactly, but there's something there. And about a year ago, I found in this book, and I'll just pull it up for you, actually. Right? Massive book that I bought at the Vatican Library. and it was crazy expensive for a book, but is what it is. There's only like one of these. This is the book called Codex Atlanticus. Okay, so, and they're all broken into folios. So if I go to folio 134, and I was just flipping through the book one day about a year ago, and I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. Maybe another reference to Egypt, right? That's what I wanted to find. I wanted to find a reference to Egypt. So I find this book, and this is also the same place where Da Vinci has all his drawings on the flower of life.
Okay.
Right? So I go to 134, which is right next to the flower of life section. And here it is. And so I go to this, and I notice something, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is wild. Why in the heck does he have this drawing of something that looks like Khafre Pyramid?
In the same proportions.
In the exact same proportions. Which is a 3-4-5 triangle.
Wow.
See this? Now, this is exactly the proportions of Khafre Pyramid. So what I did is I overlaid this on top of Khafre Pyramid to see if the places he put these little chambers inside here match the exact chambers of Khafre Pyramid, and they do. The exact positions. And so I was like, what is this? This is so weird. And I looked at the inscription on top, and it's written backwards in mirrored text, and it says, Avendo Egyptato, which is having been Egyptianized. Now, there's no record other than the letter that he wrote to the Sultan of Cairo in reference 1336 and 1337 of Codex Atlanticus that he went to Egypt, but he actually went to go work for the Sultan of Cairo and told the whole story about it.
This must connect somehow to, again, when we're bringing up things like the tree of life and whatnot, that would be connected to like the mystical side, not so much in a religious way, but Kabbalah is the mystical side of Judaism. And I know that there's a lot of connections over there in terms of what they knew and what they were building here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
It's amazing stuff.
So when I knew that this slope angle is exactly the same as as Khafre Pyramid, which is 53.13 degrees, it's a 3-4-5, and he even encrypted it here in his letter. You can see where there's, again, backwards mirrored text, but it'll show up to you as going right way forward because we're watching it on a screen.
Correct.
Right? So you can see Avendo Egyptato. You see Egyptato? It's A-E-G, right? Y-P-T-A-T-O, having been Egyptianized. And then he says 3/4 proportion. You see the 3/4?
Wow.
That's the proportion of the base over the height of Khafre Pyramid.
Unbelievable.
It's a perfect match. So this is an encryption, and the inner structures are all matching. But look, he drew these geometries hidden inside here. That's a dodecahedron right here.
Amazing.
Right? They're like shadow forms of them. But look underneath the pyramid.
It's amazing.
What
so
is
that's
it?
that's actually going to be the proportions of what we're talking about here.
Well, no, this is not the Great Pyramid. This is Khafre Pyramid. Khafre
So what is the
second
proportion?
pyramid.
The Great Pyramid in terms of your numbers are what?
The proportion is 2/1 pi or 7/11 height
Gotcha.
over the base. Okay?
Gotcha.
2/1 pi is equal to 7/11, right? But what's interesting is, look, when the whole story came out about there being an underground structure, I went to this to see if Da Vinci had done anything on it. And look, there's pylons going down.
Crazy.
You see these like caissons, they go all the way down.
It's insane, man. It really is.
Right?
It's,
So,
the more we dive into it, the more you don't know.
yeah, that's right. So that's why I was like, wait a minute. He's encrypted here, and it said it's Egyptian, having been Egyptianized. And guess what? This structure inside here, and these that continue with these pylons all the way down, is actually the Sephirot, the tree of
Yes.
life. You see the
Yes.
shape of the tree of life inside here?
Yep. And that's your
the tree of life.
That's your 10 sfirot, and each one represents, again, this goes to Kabbalah. So I'm no master in Kabbalah, but I've studied it to the extent of understanding the 10 sfirot and how you kind of evolve throughout life, in this life and the next ones, eventually to get to what's called Malchut, which is like angelcy. It's getting to as high as you could possibly get in those 10 spheres.
Yes, exactly. So the point is that I don't know exactly what's under Caffrey Pyramid, but I find it very fascinating. 1 year ago that I found the encryption of Caffrey Pyramid by Leonardo da Vinci, and then they do the scan, the SAR scan, which is the synthetic aperture radar technology. And the way it works is they send these little pulses into the earth, and they analyze the echoes coming back from the different structures underground.
Yep.
And this is a totally new technology. So if it proves to be, really reliable, then this is going to be groundbreaking on every level.
It
No pun intended.
literally.
Yep. And so basically what's happened now is I went and looked, and it just so happens to match the underground structure that Da Vinci drew. So I feel that there is definitely something there. And
I just find it amazing, back to what we were speaking about earlier, that without even knowing it, with the proportions that you were saying, how we built this one and how we're kind of moving forward. And as a matter of fact, and I'll show you this off camera because it's not ready yet, but from the pyramids, we're actually moving into different shapes and sizes. We're moving into spheres. We're moving into really cool cubes. We're moving into a lot of really cool designs that are inspired by geometric shapes.
You know what? I would love to work with you, because I have some ideas on what could be done with this, with all these different shapes and stuff, which could be really
I think that would be a phenomenal idea. And again, I really do believe, and I know that you show this through your work, beyond what the code is doing. And
it's a beautiful piece of art.
It's medicinal art, which is what I call it. It's art that has a functionality to it. And the shape itself, really, when you're moving energy in specific ways, in specific proportions, it does have a different effect on the body. And right now, I mean, I can go forever in terms of the stories, but I'll share one or two with you because it's really important for people to understand and hear other people's stories of what they've actually experienced. Because I know a lot of people, they're like, I'm dealing with Lyme disease. Everybody tells me it's incurable, and I don't know how I'm ever going to get over it. And when somebody comes and they say, I've experienced and used this technology, and I've overcome Lyme disease and many, many other things through this technology specifically, it gives people so much more hope, because when their doctor tells them you can't do anything, and suddenly you're hearing a plethora, a very, very wide array of different people from around the world sharing what they've experienced, it changed everything. But what got me the most, and maybe this is because I like, things that I can touch more and see more as opposed to just understanding it in the mind, is what I saw this technology do for animals. I've seen on my own sister's dog. Can't be an actor, can't be a story that's not true. My own sister's dog, he had a 4-centimeter tumor in his neck. He was sleeping in technologies like this for 3 days in a row, and it was gone. They didn't need to do anything. And that was after my own aunt had a 13.5-centimeter cystic fibroid in her uterus, and in 4 hours it dissolved. And I'm looking like, what the hell is going on? How is this possible? People from bad eyesight to back pain to stage 4 of whatever it is that you want to, that exists under the sun today. I can't say that it's working exactly the same for everybody, because nothing does. But what I can say is there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that are sharing their stories and sharing their testimonies, from the least severe sort of things to the most severe, with incredible, incredible results. And that's really one of the biggest reasons why I stand behind these things, because I see the results. Studies are great. We're doing a lot of research right now, but studies can be manipulated. What can't be manipulated is tens of thousands of people sharing their stories that don't know each other, and they're all saying the same exact thing. So that's really tying back to my father and his legacy. I wanted to bring that experience to more people around the world. That's what the light system is meant for. That's what the unified healing centers are meant for around the world. It's to bring more people, not just more hope, but more solutions and alternatives that can really help them without side effects.
So I wanted to share with you, this is what I'm talking about here. This is the Great Pyramid proportion. This is the 7 over the 11, right? The square equals perimeter of 22, and the circle equals circumference of 22.
And that's exactly what all of these pyramids are about to be, by the way.
Yep, that's right.
With the exception of yours, because you want this one.
Yes, that's right. So I'll show you the other one. Orion is unique. No algorithms, no propaganda, and no exploitation. Just end-to-end quantum secure data. Messages, groups, and shared media behind a wall of next-generation encryption. Right? Which is basically Vitruvian Man to perfection. It's this.
Interesting. Yeah, that's exactly this right behind me.
That's right.
I understand.
So the fact that you guys did that without even knowing about it or thinking about it, that's pretty mind-boggling for me. And I know also that this particular pyramid does represent the time portal.
Yeah.
So this pyramid is the time portal, like literally.
There are people that have been experiencing this saying, I'm sitting down for 3 hours and it feels like it's been 2 minutes. And it's funny that you're saying that right now because people have these like interdimensional and extra dimensional experiences around this technology often. Now, when you say that to like a doctor or a scientist, the common ones, they kind of look at you like there's something wrong with you. But when you really associate it with what you're talking about here, it makes a lot of sense what it's doing. And over here, I see infinite delta, infinite sum, things like that. On the level of brainwave frequencies, it's been shown to bring people to delta and gamma in a period of 7 minutes.
Well, the mathematics of this is literally, I'll just explain what this, delta, infinite sum, and infinite product are.
Yeah.
Basically, every triangle is the sum and the product of two numbers that are factors.
Okay.
So, for example, if you have a triangle, the height of that triangle will always be x times y taken to the square root will be the height.
Okay.
Right? That's where it says infinite delta. The infinite sum means that it's x plus y divided by 2. Right? So it becomes like a mean value. And then the infinite product is, the infinite product is the x times y
times and then sum
to the square root.
Divided.
That's right. So every right triangle has this relational proportion embedded within it. And so there is something in mathematics called the infinite product, the infinite sum. And these are what we call, progressive series in math. And so it would be like if you took 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 into infinity. You'd be shocked to know that the number turns out to be the answer, the infinite sum. You add every number up together, it equals negative 1/12.
Really?
Yes, there's mathematical proofs on this. Algebraically, the answer comes out to negative 1/12. And no one can figure this out.
What does that mean?
It just means that there's some looping that happens with our number system that people don't really fully understand. But you could look it up. The infinite sum, if I were just to, I'll just show you this real quick, just since you asked, because it's like.
Do you have any idea what we can do with that? How we can apply that knowledge of the loop?
Yes. In fact, I do. So it's like, so negative, let me see, negative 1/12. Number file is a page that I go to.
Okay.
1/12. Here it is. Okay. This is going to blow your mind.
Because it's what happens every time. Every time we have a conversation, I leave with like, I got to watch that 3 times.
This pyramid that you made actually embeds this knowledge, the infinite product, infinite sum, infinite difference, which is like it's an association I made related to right triangles. And it's exactly this proportional triangle, which is like beyond bizarre.
Result. Astounding. An astounding result. So I'm just going to write down a little sum, and we're just going to see what answer it gives. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus and I include all the natural numbers, so all the way up to infinity. So what do you reckon the answer to this is, Brady?
Well, I would say it would tend towards infinity.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? The answer to this sum is remarkably minus a 12th. It's amazing. I mean, I first saw this result when I started learning a bit of string theory. And what's even more bizarre is that this result is used in many areas of physics. This is a very well-known string theory textbook by Joe Polchinski. As you can see, sort of quite early on, page 22, we have this statement here, which is that the sum of all, this is basically saying the sum of all the integers, or the natural numbers, all the way up to infinity, is minus a 12. All right, so we're going to prove now, without getting our knickers in a twist with Riemann zeta functions, we're going to prove quite a simple way why the sum of all the natural numbers is indeed minus a 12. So to do that, we're going to do this in a number of steps. We're going to look at a few different sums. The first sum that I want to look at, I'm going to call it S1, and it's 1 minus 1 plus 1 minus 1 plus 1 minus 1, and so on. That's the first sum I want to look at in principle. The second sum I'm going to look at is 1 minus 2 plus 3 minus 4, and so on. Carry on in that process all the way up. And the third one is, of course, going to be our one that we're really interested in, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on. So we're going to evaluate all these three different sums. Now, the first one is really easy to evaluate. We need to attach a number. Now, clearly, what is the answer to this? Now,
So I'm not gonna make you go through all this. You could go through this, but I can tell you the answer is negative 1/12. Now, why is
Very
that
interesting.
Why is that important to what we're talking about here?
And how do we apply that?
Yeah, so it's something related to time itself, because this particular proportion relates to time in the base 60 system. So what I did is I said, okay, if that's true, then you've got this same issue. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So go back to this. So you'll recognize what I just wrote here. The infinite sum. That was that same equation that he basically just showed, right?
Yep.
Then you just take the mean value of that and divide it by 2. By dividing it by 2, because if I took both this hypotenuse and this hypotenuse, it would be that 1/12 number, right?
Gotcha.
So this becomes 1/24 then. And 1/24 is, 1 over 4.16666. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's
one
yeah,
half of 1/12 is 1/24.
I got you.
Okay, makes sense?
Yes.
So then we know also what the infinite product is. So if I showed you another video, the infinite product comes out to be, and it's this right here, this little infinity, right, square root, and basically it's taking us to what is the square root of tau. So it becomes like a fourth root of pi. You could say it like that. It's like a fourth root of pi. So this value comes out then to exactly a side length that would give you two sides of a triangle. Because if I know that the product of two numbers is going to create one side of the triangle, and the sum of those same two numbers will create another side of a triangle, of the same triangle, then I can solve the third side because those two sides are attached. So I just take it, and it happens to be a right triangle. And guess what the proportion is? It's exactly this triangle. So this
is literally embedded into what I'm sitting next to.
Yes, it's literally God's math. No joke. This is God's math. And I call this, that's why I'm like kind of freaking out, because it's this right here. Universal ratios, right? The universal ratios come out. I'll try to expand this for you.
Yeah.
Make this bigger. The universal ratios. Can you see it better now? No? Gosh.
It's a little condensed. There we go.
Okay, you see the universal ratios on it, right? The universal ratios I named omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience. This is literally that proportion. This is omnia ab uno, translation, all from one.
Now I understand why you want this specific one.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Because this is like divinely inspired.
Yes. Without even knowing it. But like you said, there's no coincidence here. I want to share another reason why I wanted to go the pyramid route, also with my father. He always wanted a home in the shape of a pyramid. And unfortunately, he passed away before he had the ability to build that. But I'm like, you know what? If one day maybe I'll do something like that. But in the meantime, it's a beautiful shape. I understand that there's a lot of significance to it and healing aspects to it as well. Let's turn it into something like this. So it's like one thing leads to another, that leads to another. Here we are. I called it an accident and you're calling it divinely inspired. And it's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. No, I could literally spend days showing you why this is divinely inspired.
It's amazing stuff. So listen, I'm just excited to see how this will continue to do the work that it's doing, but how the proportions will actually impact the results that people are seeing.
Yeah. And I think that's true. But and I wish you all the best with this. But I think it's interesting because you tapped into something by accident. That's how I'm always kind of interested in this, because there's no such thing as accidents.
So number one, I'd love to take you up on what you asked for and bring you into the design aspect of it so we can have some more divinely inspired proportions and designs moving forward, because we're working on some incredible, incredible things. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what we're seeing right now. I'll send you some other designs of what's being built right now. And even what people are seeing here, as amazing as it is, there are many, many different types of this that people can see in different designs and different configurations. That's where unified healing comes in. We've spoken about it on past podcasts.
We need to make a giant one like that.
Oh, yeah.
Have it be an art installation at Burning Man.
That's exactly what we're working on, by the way. That's exactly one of the things that I'm working on as we speak.
And you should have it so you could actually go inside it too.
Yeah, and, it's not a big deal.
And have a whole experience, yeah.
It's really cool stuff. So I'm excited to see where all of this goes. I'm excited to see your experiences with it and where you take it from there, because I know when your mind and heart is in on this, it's just going to go a whole lot further. So I'm honored to be able to work with you in that way. And really, for anybody that wants to experience something like this, that's where unified healing comes in. I always tell people, go and experience these things around the world because they're everywhere.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm sorry again for the loss of your father. And I wish you all the best. And where can people find more about you? I know you've been on my podcast before, but where can they find you?
All over on social media. If you just type in Jason Shurka, you'll find my Instagram, my YouTube, and all that. If you do want to experience this technology, you can go to unifiedhealing.com, spelt just like it is behind me, UNIFYD healing.com. We also represent other amazing technologies, so go and experience those. And if you want to get one of these, you can go to the Light Systems, in plural, thelightsystems.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jason. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Robert. You're awesome.
You too. All the best.